Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Market Junkie YouTube channel. Today is 9/23/2018, and it is midnight. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing fantastic. Just had a wonderful weekend, and I'm ready to kill these charts this week.
Yeah, so before we begin this video, I want to remind you that this is not financial advice. Let me repeat, this is not financial advice, and I encourage you to do your own due diligence. So, last week was a great week. Did you see that TLRY?
Oh, that was a fantastic call.
Yeah, definitely. So the stock ripped up to $300, and people were still buying it up there. Incredible. All right, let me just remember we called it, like, even on Twitter, we're like, $300. What could go wrong here? So this was basically like this Bitcoin craze, but in the marijuana market. So it got halted like 4 or 5 times. Remember? That was insane. So around here, it was like 25 billion market cap, I want to say. And that was bigger than like 140 or 150 of the S&P 500 companies. The stock just like, it IPO'd at what, like $20 it opened up? Yeah, it shows it opened up at 23 and it ran all the way to 300. I mean, this company does like 20 to 30 million dollars in sales a year, okay? And it was valued at 25 billion. I mean, this was extended beyond belief. But yeah, what I did last week was I got into some Constellation brands. So STZ, made this call in our previous video. Stock was around, let's say, $214, and they were buying heavily on the calls for this week. So I mean last week, right? Or no, 9/20 expiration, so this week. But obviously I got out because they went to a double. The stock just completely ripped. So this was like the indirect way to play the whole marijuana phrase, because STZ does have a position in CGC, Canopy Growth. So that's an indirect way to play it. It was, and it just opened up near 220, and it's a huge win. Because, you know, this stock doesn't really move a lot, but when it does, you make great money on that. So it did play that. You have any more input on TLRY? You want to bash it a little?
Honestly, I think there's a lot of other undervalued marijuana stocks in TLRY. I mean, there's a lot of other marijuana stocks that I like better than TLRY, and they just haven't pumped yet. So I've just been accumulating those, and I think that they all will get their pump eventually.
Penny Lane. Yeah, this is just like feels pumpy and dumpy right now. I mean, a couple of these companies will survive in the future. Who knows? Maybe even many of them will. But it's going to be kind of like the crypto thing. A lot of them will probably, go under, in my opinion. It's just like, yeah, the regulation is still there, so it's kind of hard in the United States, at least. Canada, it's obviously easier, but it's going to take some time.
The thing is, there's going to be how many major players are there going to be? Anyone can just start a weed operation and have a weed to sell at dispensaries and stuff. But when's it going to get oversaturated? I don't know if we're at that point where there's enough players in the market.
Right.
They were oversaturated, but they're just really like developing, and we just need more infrastructure laid down before we can get any sustainable long-term growth.
Yeah, but in Canada, once it does get legalized throughout the whole country, there's going to be so much supply coming onto the market that I feel like it's definitely going to drop the price. So I think people are getting a little too excited over this. But like the real message of this is like it's gonna expand to other countries. So that's where the real growth will be. But yeah, that's what I have for marijuana. You wanna talk about Apple?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Oh, I just got my new iPhone, by the way.
How do you like it?
Oh, I love it because I did upgrade from the iPhone 6S Plus. I've had that for 3 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, go over Apple.
So with Apple, as we have the tariffs being implemented this week, I do believe that Apple is going to see some bears in the market. Currently, we're ranging from 215 to 230. And until we break that, I really don't see any conviction for bears. But if we do see 215 breakdown and see really weak price action towards the upside, then I will be targeting areas such as 208 and 210, that area. And in that region. I'm going to wait and see how the price action comes in and see if Apple is going to accumulate further. And I am anticipating some sort of rejection of this price and continuation higher. So I will be looking forward to looking at the price action in Apple and seeing how it reacts to 210 and maybe targeting more highs afterwards.
Yeah. All right. So since we are on the topic of China, say it,
China.
China, we'll talk a little bit about some Chinese stocks. So let's go on over to JD.
Yeah, so what we have on JD here is we got some volume coming in. Just give me 2 seconds. So we have this bearish channel that we're in right now. We've been in it ever since June 18th, so very very long time. We're hitting the bottom in it right about where this big volume came in, and basically in that setup. Basically, when large volume comes in, generally at the bottom of a channel after a very very large downward move, it's going to be climactic. That action is considered to be climactic action, and you're going to expect price to retrace nicely from there. So why do I say that? You're going to want to expect price to retrace. Well, as you see here, we already bounced off of where we got this large volume, and we have this red line. Bounced off at one time. We went in there a little bit, gapped lower, but then we came right out and we retested it on Friday, and we are bouncing off of that. So that is an area where I will be accumulating shares of JD at the 26 level. And my trade is going to be something like this. If I entered, maybe you didn't get in at that price. Basically, my stop loss is going to be below this low, and I'm going to be targeting a pretty heavy retrace in the stock. So I'm not. And then my initial target will be the top of this trend line, and if we can break out of there, I'll be looking to target about 35, 36. So that makes my risk to reward about a 6 on that trade. So this is a trade that it's a nice setup, and we're getting some
Yeah.
climactic action. So definitely something that I'll be looking at this week.
Yeah, we might see some weakness early this week because of the whole China US thing. I feel like this problem is gonna go on for a couple of months at least. Because China did say that they don't want to negotiate or come to the table until after November.
All right,
Don't know what their exact reason is. We don't know what's happening behind closed doors, but quite interesting what's happening.
right. What if the Democrats have a a
Yeah,
deal for them, or I don't know
yeah,
what?
yeah. Whatever happens in November election, who the hell knows? But
Exactly.
you want to talk a little bit about Baba?
Yeah. Baba baba.
Baba, yeah. This one moves, man. On tariff news, like a couple percent.
Oh yeah. So
Things
this
whipping
this
around.
long term trend line I have, as you can see on the bottom, is where I wanted to reload on Baba. If it does. So right now, they're in this current range that we're in. It's simply, we're about to. This is a bearish flag, technically speaking, and we're probably going to head lower down here, and then from there, probably break out. And if the pattern were to play out, then um, we'd head for this area over here, like 145. And at 145, I'll be definitely looking to long Baba and accumulate shares of Baba there. Even in this 155 range, like I think it's still a good price point. When we come back in this bottom of this channel down here, if we do not break it, then it'll be a good opportunity to go long. And that's where I'll be targeting. If you did go short, you'd be targeting the 158 area, but 158 is a good area to just sit on your hands and wait till Baba gets there and check out the price action there. And from there, if it breaks down, then you can target the 145 area. I mean, I don't want to be the guy who's shorting the market like crazy, but this is just a technical speaking. And from there, it may take a few weeks, maybe a month or two to set up, but from there, I believe Baba is just going to be accumulating until November. I mean, as this looks, it kind of makes sense with what you just said with the midterm elections and all that stuff. So if we do accumulate till about the end of November and then start to break out and chug towards making more highs at the start of next year, then I totally see that being a possibility with Baba, and it definitely looks like a good setup going into next year. So this is just a long-term setup that we're going to be keeping our eyes on. It's not really important for us to enter a position quickly, but we're just going to be patient, and waiting for price to get to our key levels, and then we can start accumulating from there.
Yes, I agree. I love me some Baba.
Good.
All right, so let's head on over and talk a little bit about
Fed.
JP Morgan and the Fed. Yeah. You see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Wait, hold up. Okay. So yeah, JP Morgan, they've been buying the calls quite aggressively. And JP, obviously, you have Citi, you have Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley. Hell, even Goldman Sachs is catching, some options action. The worst of the bunch, in my opinion. I really do not like that stock. I like JP the best out of all of them. But yeah, they were buying them all across the board. They were buying the 120s, 118s, 19s, whatever it is, for this week that's coming up when the Fed's supposedly supposed to announce the interest rate hike. It's supposed to be 25 basis points. And then after that, they were buying, the October monthlies and just deeper out. They were buying everything, okay, basically. When they rotate into banks, do they rotate. Remember that 4% day in JP? Or it was like 3 or 4% this day
Oh yeah.
on the 19th.
I sent you one of my Bank of America charts back when if you see that 9, right there. I wasn't looking at the 9, but maybe I can see if I can pull it
I
up.
need to
But
log in.
yeah, I sent you buy position in Bank of America at that bottom. But it was crazy just to see like banks. This just goes to show you how crazy banks have been accumulating, and like
Yes.
people have people aren't really ready for. I mean, I don't know if they're ready for it or not, but I can see from this price action that some shit.
Right.
This Federal Reserve is going to be bringing some major moves.
Yeah. So yeah, I did on Twitter, if you follow me, I was in the calls, sold them for a nice gain, and right now I am currently in the 120 for October's at around 1.10. I'm playing, obviously with pure profit by now. I've played this thing like 2 or 3 times. Up here, I don't really want to chase, so maybe if I get a pullback, quite early this week, I might add to that position because I do feel like JP Morgan is ready for some new highs. It's so ready to break out, It needs over 119.33, and then I think it gets legs higher to the 120 range.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
targeting around like 122, 123, and then I'll just like, if it gets there, I'll take profit and just let it run.
this chart is clearly JPM accumulating.
Yeah, it's quite nice.
And
What
it's
do you think about what do you think the language of the Fed's going to be?
I think the language of the Fed is going to be they're going to continue to raise rates until and they're going to be data dependent for whatever bullshit uh, excuses they have for continuing to normalize, quote unquote, and
Normalize.
until they have any shock in data, inflation data, GDP data, unemployment data, any data, then they're not going to change their monetary policy. But when that does happen, then they're going to be they said that they'll change monetary policy accordingly. So we're just
Normal.
waiting for that.
You remember that? But yeah, what do you think about December though? What you think it's gonna be a go?
Oh yeah, it's
I
gonna
feel
be
like it's gonna
go
be a
go
go.
go go.
All right.
Probably until like later 2019 or 2020. Like I think these midterm elections are gonna be pretty big. It depends. I don't really know what the fuck China's gonna do, um, based off of the midterm elections, but
Yeah,
it's
as I said,
definitely
like before back in the day, it was probably easier to predict what was gonna happen. But nowadays, like you have so many derivatives and algos and this and that and geopolitical tensions, everything, dude. Like quantitative easing and everything's just so messed up that it's so hard to figure out what's gonna happen, like what this economy really is.
yeah.
I feel like we just need to hit that refresh button and start over. But yeah, that's what we have for JP Morgan. Do you have any other stocks in mind that you want to go over? Oh no, I do. So Royal Caribbean, I talked about this when it was $129. I did say I would think it was going to go to the $135 level. It went to 134 or so, but now I'm getting a little, iffy here. One reason being is CCL. They report earnings on Thursday, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's this week. And past 2 quarters, it went down on the earnings, and RCL and obviously NCHL, they both went down because of obviously the CCL earnings. So I'm just watching that. Maybe it does hinder this, move higher. or maybe doesn't. But
Honestly, when it comes to CCL, like since we broke out,
I feel
or I
like it's
mean,
the worst of the
since we,
bunch. But that's just my opinion.
if you can share my screen real quick,
Yeah.
I mean, on CCL on the longer time frame, we had the huge breakout of like this 56, $55, like $55 basically. And then we did like on their on when you said their last earnings, which you guys can see on the bottom, like right here and right here. The last two earnings haven't been good, but they just retraced back into 56, and they bought that hard from where it broke out from. So they are expecting this to continue to chug higher. I mean, honestly, this thing hasn't moved since like in 1998 it bottomed out, and in 1999 it made a high, and ever since 1999, ever since like 2017, that high hasn't really been broken, and then we just finally broke it. So I think this, when if we do get to see any like buying opportunities before like going into Thursday, like if this does dip down into like, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know, I want
But
to
I
say
don't
like
want to be that guy that does anything ahead of earnings. I'm just not that guy. I really don't
yeah,
like
yeah,
playing.
yeah. I mean, I am that guy if it's like calculated risk,
You're a hardcore degenerate. I'm
this
just like
chart
a
kind of,
little bit, a little
I mean,
bit.
if I use risk management, then I should be fine. But I just want this
That's
to
what
go
they all
down a
say.
little bit, and I'll be. I mean, in my options plays on earnings, I'm going to be targeting, some way out of the money. I'm going to be first targeting 72, and then after that, like 75.
Yeah.
Break out more highs because this chart is so bullish. The fact that it has earnings coming up, and it's just so bullish that it could move a lot. So
We're gonna win and we're gonna win big.
we're gonna
Like we've
win or
never won before.
we're never gonna lose.
But yeah, hurricane season ends November 30th, technically. And I just really want to see what they have to say about, the Hurricane Florence and, future hurricanes and what their guidance is. Because if they do have a little weak guidance, then you're obviously going to see some weakness in the stock. So maybe if they do issue something weak and the other ones fall, might pick some up. But, this is one I'm just waiting on.
Okay, yeah,
Might play
fair
some.
enough. Yeah,
Might,
well, you already made your money on it, so you don't want
yeah.
to get too greedy.
So, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll buy some puts on RCL this week if the premiums are a little cheap. But in this market, I'm just like, it's such a bull market right now. It just feels like everything's a buy the dip opportunity. So you sit and wait. I'm
Speaking
not
of buy the dip, did you see MU's earnings?
moo. Yeah, the guidance was a little weak on
Yeah, it was a
that
little
one.
weak, but it's
Still
still
holding the 40 level.
yeah, it's still, I mean, it's holding the 44 level, and that's a very important level. As you see here, we did have climactic action and good volume coming in on September. What is that? September 6th.
Maybe it was David Teppa.
And then we did hold that after the earnings. So I mean, I think $44.15 is a good price point to keep on buying MU on. And I'm going to be targeting. No, that's where I'm going to be accumulating MU, and that's where you got the climactic volume. So clearly, I'm just stating what I see on the charts. But I'll be targeting about $48 and see how it goes there. But as you see, we're also in this trend line right here, downtrend. But we are in this nice little support area. So I'm pretty sure if MU is just gonna keep on chugging, if people are still ignorantly buying MU, then I'll ignorantly buy MU at 40, 44, like, and I'll just make it like eventually it'll go up to 66. I mean, I bought MU. I have I have positions in MU all the way from believe it or not, like it's $12,
Yeah.
like all the way down here. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just bought MU, and I'm still holding on to that.
Hey, it's
So
kind of like the AMD thing,
yeah,
And
but
hell, even Nvidia is my favorite out of the bunch, honestly. Not
Nvidia's
really a
been a
fan
little
of
weak
Moo.
lately, though. I mean, let me pull up Nvidia. Yeah, Nvidia's been falling quite dramatically.
Yeah, profit
But but
taking.
but but
Semi's a little
NVIDIA,
weak.
I think it will bounce off of this 262 range it as basically like similar principle to Carnival. As you see here, we did break out right there, and we were just retesting that breakout. So I mean, this is a good buy range. Watch it be gapping up tomorrow or making some sort of upward moves if the market can stabilize. But basically, this retrace with the market, and it'll when the market starts to go back higher. Trust me, this name will be noticed. So it's definitely on our watch list, and it's in an accumulation zone. And when people aren't really talking about it much, that's when we want to get in. So yeah, I'm
Yes.
on.
So, do you have anything else you want to say on anything?
Yeah. So on the currency front,
Oh yeah, you're the
yeah,
forex god.
Yes, I am the god.
El
So
Chapo. I am.
basically, what we were trading, don't mind this big downward move, but basically we were trading right over here, and before we
What?
had this big up move, I was projecting that price will rise. My target was 28.5, but we didn't quite get there. We did get as high as we did. We went an M formation. We went about 100 pips. So intraday level, I call it 100 pips. And ever since then, GBP has been falling like crazy, and I believe it's going to continue to fall. But this is because of Brexit negotiations really going to shit this last week, and the EU said before when this rise happened that they'd be willing to negotiate a substantial amount, and then they come in and say nope, we're not doing anything. And the COT report this week shows that the commercials are heavily shorted this last week into this rise, and they are clearly they just dumped it. And I'm going to be taking it lower and lower. If it comes back to 1.26 area and retraces, I'm definitely going to be knocking it with sells and going to be targeting more lows. In terms of one more pair I want to talk about is GBP AUD. This one's interesting because if you look at the COT report, GBP is really bearish and the AUD is really bullish. Commercials are at all-time high levels of net long positions. So I am going to be targeting shorts on here. As you see, we did break out of this channel or whatever this is, this little consolidation. But I do want it to go back in here. If it rejects this first price point, then I'll first try to sell there. But and my target's going to be down here at the 1.78 level, so about 200 pip moves. But if it does go back into here, I'm going to be next trying at 1.815. So from 1.815, it's kind of like this middle arbitrary mean level of this channel, and it's you're gonna have not a lot of nice support and resistance line up with that level, as you see here. And that'll be the very high probability level. And once we come back into here, this area, and see how we do there, and I'm gonna smack it with sells. So that's all I got for forex this week. Just giving you my biases and my unprofessional opinion. As you know, I am not a financial advisor.
Yeah. All right. So mainly this week, I'm going to be watching the banks because obviously that money is flowing into the banks because of the Federal Reserve interest rate hike coming. So I will be listening to the language that
Yeah.
comes out of the Fed.
Just a little bit about that
Oh yeah.
interest rates. You can share it to my screen real quick. I forgot to talk about the U.S. dollar. So
Nada.
primarily in the U.S. dollar, basically what we're looking at. I mean, I do need, or I do feel like Euro USD will retrace higher, but I'm not quite sure how soon it's going to do that. What I believe it's going to do is I believe it's going to, get crushed and come back down and into here. I did predict this rise up, and we're rejected. I believe it's going to come down further and go down into the 1.14 area, and the dollar is going to strengthen as the U.S. is actually raising rates. And just a side thought, Euro isn't really doing shit, so it doesn't really make sense for the U.S. dollar to lose value against the euro unless it's some external event that they're pricing in, or they're just screwing retail investors. So I do believe that this will fall going into after FOMC, and I will be entering positions as according to that bias. So that's what I have for
Yeah.
Euro
So
USD.
with that being said, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. Twitter. Yeah, make sure to follow me on some, this is more up to date, and I'm always tweeting. A Twitter addict. So you definitely want to follow me on there. I'll shoot out some random, trades that I'm doing and whatnot. So yeah, with that being said, when's the next video gonna be?
Oh, we're gonna do the next vid video
You're gonna do
probably
like Tuesday
sometime.
before the FOMC.
Yeah, Tuesday
All
before
right.
FOMC, and then after FOMC, we'll reconvene and